stand on guard for thee. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
And now the opening face-off. Les portes sont ouvertes. Open the doors. The doors be open. Alors, statements by members. Déclaration de député. Honorable député de Rivière-du-Nord.
The honourable member for Rivière-du-Nord.
Attends juste un instant.
We will wait just a moment.
Déclaration de député de...
Statements by members. The honourable member for Rivière-du-Nord. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would like to note that this year is the 25th anniversary of the partnership between the Bar Association of Lanaudière and the Bar Association of Dragonnière. And there are members of that who are here to visit us. I would like to salute them, the members of that Bar Association who are here today. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I welcome them to the Parliament of Canada. The honourable member for Laval-les-Îles. Mr. Speaker, colleagues, from the bottom of my heart, I want to thank the people of Laval-les-Îles for electing me to represent them here in the House of Commons. I will be there for all of them, whatever their background. I also have the honour to rise today to salute the great work of a great woman, Laval's Pierrette Patnaud, founder of La Place des Aînés. Since opening on October 23, 1994, this seniors centre gives a sense of belonging to those 50 and up and engages them with socio-cultural and sporting activities. Today, it has over 6,000 members. Madame Patnaud was an ambassador for seniors and inspired many similar centres across Canada and Quebec. Mr. Raymond Monette, president, is still the pillar of Place des Aînés. Accept our thanks for your great work.
Honourable member for Simcoe Grey.
Mr. Speaker, I'm proud to rise in the House today to recognize some outstanding constituents in my riding of Simcoe Grey. On February 27th, I host the John Simcoe Awards. John Simcoe was the first Lieutenant Governor of Ontario and a man dedicated to building Canada. The John Simcoe Awards will be presented to those constituents who have made a difference in building Canada and my riding of Simcoe Grey. These are people who have gone beyond and above to make a positive difference in the lives of others in our constituency, selflessly voluntary. This award is an opportunity to show our appreciation for the people in our community that truly have made a difference in the lives of others. I'm happy to announce that this year's recipients are Lauren Winkler of Collingwood, Larry Law of Collingwood, Captain Luc Blachant of Base-Borden in Essa, David Foster of West Saga Beach, and Jeanette Limecart of Steiner. I look forward to taking the opportunity to congratulate them on their great contributions. Thank you.
The honourable member for Vaudreuil-Soulanges.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to take a moment today to pay tribute to a noteworthy Canadian from my riding who would have celebrated his 71st birthday yesterday. Mr. Kenneth Lefrançois was a husband, a father, a friend, a Rotarian, and a mentor to many. Ken
was born in Newfoundland in 1945. A gentle giant, he came to Quebec and studied at the University of Montreal before a brief career with the Montreal Alouettes. Always determined, Ken made a positive contribution to his community. His most recent success was the creation of a Rotary International Action Group to raise funds for mental health awareness and education.
Legacy will be one of service, dedication, and hard work. And Mr. Speaker, on behalf of this House, I extend my condolences and thoughts to his wife, Raymonde, his two sons, Patrick and Louis, who have joined us in the House today. Thank you very much.
The honourable member for Victoria.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today to urge the federal government to make immediate investments in the upcoming budget to build public housing. The consequences of years of federal inaction on housing are evident in the city of Victoria. Our region has been grappling with homelessness and a severe shortage of social housing and affordable rental housing. Today, Victoria has the lowest vacancy rate of any major city in Canada, and close to 1,300 households are on a wait list. There are families with children living in motels and in shelters. There are people with no option but to sleep in city parks every night. Our local government, along with housing and social agencies, are working hard on creative solutions to give people temporary shelter, but we all know that what's needed is a permanent solution. We need significant federal investments to increase the housing stock. The City of Victoria and our regional government have projects that can be ready to go once they have a federal partner. We can do better, Mr. Speaker. We must do better to ensure people have a pathway to opportunity, and the foundation for that is affordable housing for all.
The honourable member for Châteauguay-Lacolle. Mr. Speaker, I wish to congratulate 3 fellow citizens of Châteauguay-Lacolle who were honoured last night at Rideau Hall by the Governor-General, His Excellency David Johnston, at the Natural Science and Engineering Research Council Awards ceremony. The laureates are 3 members of the same family, Denis Van Winden, Jean-Bernard Van Winden, and Stéphane Van Winden. They received the Synergy Award for Innovation in the 2 or more companies category for Production Horticole Van Winden, Les Fermes Hautes et Van Winden, and Delftland. This annual award recognizes model partnerships between industry and universities. I am proud to honor the Van Windens and acknowledge our government's desire to support researchers and promote their work, which helps move Canada forward.
The honourable member for Calgary Signal Hill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise today to recognize the passing of an Alberta and Canadian icon. In the late 40s, Ron Southern, along with his father, invested some $2,000 and started the Alberta Trailer Company to house oil field workers after the Leduc discovery of oil, Mr. Speaker. That company, now known as ATCO, is now operating in 5 continents around the world, employs over 8,000 people. But, Mr. Speaker, Ron Southern's legacy in Calgary is more for his philanthropic endeavours, which is most people know as Spruce Meadows. Ron and his wife Marg took a piece of land, an old feedlot on the south end of town, and turned it into a world-class equestrian centre. And, Mr. Speaker, for the next number of decades, Calgarians will enjoy the legacy of Spruce Meadows on a beautiful Sunday afternoon in late September, and that will be the legacy of Ron Southern. Thank you much.
The honourable member for North Vancouver.
Mr. Speaker, I would first like to take the opportunity to thank the people of what I believe to be one of the most beautiful ridings in all of Canada, North Vancouver, British Columbia, for electing me to represent them in this chamber. I'm very proud to highlight 2 major initiatives in my riding that speak to this community's entrepreneurial spirit and its commitment to the arts. On November the 27th, C-SPAN marked the start of construction of Vancouver Shipyard's new corporate headquarters. This project is part of a broader initiative that will see C-SPAN hire an additional 1,300 workers over the next 5 years and will help to secure Canada's place as a world-class destination for shipbuilding. On January the 18th, I had the privilege of participating in a groundbreaking for the new Polygon Art Gallery. This breathtaking new facility is the product of effective cooperation on behalf of all 3 levels of government and will be a platform for fine art as well as for community events and enhanced tourism. Fellow members, North Vancouver is a vibrant community, one that is making new investments in community infrastructure to create jobs and growth.
The honourable member for Cumberland-Colchester.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Tidal power is now emerging as an industry in which Canada can be the #1 world leader. Canada alone has over 42 gigawatts of tidal power potential, and developers are working in the Bay of Fundy right now, just off the shores of Cumberland County, Nova Scotia, creating the technology to harness this incredible potential. Along with solar, wind, and geothermal energy, the Canadian Council on Renewable Energy has a wealth of information to share about this growing sector. And I will be attending the Renewable Energy reception tonight, hosted by our very generous speaker at 6 p.m. today, and hope to learn more about this incredible development. I urge every member of this House to recognize the significant potential of renewable energy holds for Canada in terms of great jobs in research, development, and commercialization. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Huron-Bruce.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's a pleasure to rise in the House today and recognize one of the great citizens in the community of Huron-Bruce, Duncan Hawthorne, President and CEO of Bruce Power. He announced a few weeks ago that he'll be stepping down at the end of this year. Duncan has revolutionized the nuclear industry in Canada, in Ontario, and certainly rejuvenated the economy in Huron-Bruce. Bruce Power has over 3,000 employees. This year alone was record production with 8 reactors. They provide 30% of the electricity, the Ontario grid, at under 30% of the average cost. They've secured production till 2064. In the past 15 years, Duncan has set out, met, and achieved every single goal that he has endeavored to take. He's taken the nuclear industry on his back and made it world-class. All the best to Duncan and his wife, Leslie. All the best in the future. Thank you.
An honourable member for St. Catharines.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm honoured to speak during Black History Month on the important role that St. Catharines, Ontario played for the abolitionist movement. My riding is home to the Salem Chapel, which is designated as a National Historic Site. The chapel served as the final stop in the Underground Railroad and a beacon of light where escaped slaves to the United States finally met freedom. Though many Niagara residents played an important role in the movement, the chapel served as headquarters for Harriet Tubman, the legendary civil rights activist who used the chapel to lead thousands of slaves to freedom. It is a fitting tribute that the most recent school built in St. Catharines bears Tubman's name, and a statue commemorating her achievements was unveiled this month at the school. It will be a reminder to the students of the important role Niagara played in the pursuit of freedom and the importance to stand up against hate and intolerance. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable member for Kingston and the Islands.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It is an honour to rise today to help Canada and my own riding mark a special anniversary. 175 years ago, on February 10, 1841, the Governor-General Lord Sydenham announced that Kingston would be the first capital of a united province of Canada. Province of Canada. And on June 1841, again 175 years ago, this first Parliament of United Canada met at Kingston. Since then, as personified by the service to Canada of Sir John A. Macdonald, Sir Richard Cartwright, Peter Milliken, Flora Macdonald, and so many others, Kingston has continued to contribute in spades to our great country. Some might suggest, Mr. Speaker, that the capital should never have moved. Regardless, I ask MPs from all sides to join me in marking this Kingston and Canadian anniversary. Thank you, Lord Sydenham. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Parry Sound, Muskoka.
Mr. Speaker, the United Nations Relief and Works Agency was established in 1949 to support Palestinian refugees. However, Hamas, listed as a terrorist organization in many countries, including Canada, has used UNRWA resources to attack Israel, notably the storage of weapons and incitement to violence against Israel in schools operated by UNRWA. Human rights organizations have cited the redirection of funds and materials by Hamas for its own purposes, and UN Watch has even accused UNRWA staffers of using their positions to incite attacks against our friend and ally Israel. This is in direct contradiction of the UN's goal of neutrality. Canadian aid for Palestinians must go directly to specific humanitarian programs and peaceful infrastructure projects. We call on the Liberals to find more appropriate ways to deliver humanitarian aid to Palestinians. Mr. Speaker, we call on them to join B'nai B'rith and Friends of the Simon Wiesenthal Centre in opposing new funding for the flawed UNRWA. Thank you.
The honourable member for Brassard-Saint-Lambert. Mr. Speaker, it was with great sadness that we learned yesterday of the death of a man who marked the pages of history of Quebec and Canada. I wish to pay humble tribute to a man whose exemplary humanism inspired thousands of his fellow citizens. A medical career focused on children, a political career full of firsts, a lifetime dedicated to seeking out that which unites us. The life of Dr. Victor Goldblum is the exceptional path taken by a deeply good person. I had the honor of knowing him a little, too little, but I know that he leaves an incredible legacy of ties that bind, of outstretched arms, and, as he said so well in his autobiography, of bridges built. Mr. Speaker, allow me to offer our deepest condolences to his family in this difficult time, to Sheila Goldblum, children Michael, Jonathan, and Susan, all the grandchildren and extended family. Know that our thoughts are with you, and that we endeavor to follow the trail blazed by Dr. Victor Goldblum. The Honourable Member for Laurier-Sainte-Marie. Mr. Speaker, yesterday marked the beginning of the Massimadi Festival in Montreal. It's part of the celebrations of Black History Month. Massimadi is a festival of Afro-Caribbean LGBT films and art held every year in Montreal. I wish to salute those who are participating and those who contribute to its success, either through their art or through their work. Through their work, the artists and creators shed light on cultures and identities that are assets to Montreal, Quebec, and all of Canada. For festival goers, this is a unique opportunity to learn about realities that deserve to be seen and understood. This festival also reminds us that freedom and tolerance are fragile, and that we must always have the courage to stand up for our shared values. Thank you to the Arc-en-Ciel d'Afrique team and to all the volunteers and partners who make Massimadi possible. Have an excellent festival.
Falkirk, Interlake, Eastman.
Mr. Speaker, Canada's CFA teams are having a tangible impact against ISIS and are helping to improve the lives of Iraqi civilians. They have strategically eliminated over 300 targets, including ISIS fighting positions, weapon caches, critical infrastructure, and command centers. Together with our coalition partners, the Royal Canadian Air Force has helped to take back between 20 and 25% of areas previously controlled by ISIS. Wow. Media are reporting that the airstrikes have reduced ISIS's ability to spread their influence throughout the region and around the world. Right. The coalition has been targeting cash stores, oil infrastructure, and supply lines. As a result, ISIS only has access to a fraction of the financial resources that were once at their disposal. They can no longer offer lucrative salaries and benefits to ISIS fighters. ISIS is now looking to move their operations to areas where there are less airstrikes. It is shameful that the Prime Minister is making this easier for ISIS by withdrawing Canada's fighter jets. Canada should continue to take the fight directly to ISIS with their CFA teams, not only because it's the right thing to do, but because it's working.
Yes. The Honourable Member for Mount Royal.
Mr. Speaker, I also rise today to mark the passing of Dr. Victor Goldblum, a remarkable community leader. Dr. Goldblum started his career as a politician. He was elected to the Quebec National Assembly from the riding of Darcy-McGee in 1966 and became Quebec's first Jewish cabinet minister. During his tenure in politics, he served in a number of functions, including Minister of Municipal Affairs and Quebec's first Minister of the Environment. After leaving politics, he was CEO of the Canadian Council of Christians and Jews and then Canada's Commissioner of Official Languages. His excellent work on interfaith dialogue between Jews and Christians earned him recognition from the Vatican. Victor Goldblum spent his career supporting the vitality of Quebec's Jewish community and English-speaking community. But he will be sadly missed by a much larger community, as all of Quebec and all of Canada mourns the passing of a wonderful human being. Mr. Speaker, please join me in offering condolences to Dr. Goldblum's wife Sheila, his children Susan, Michael, and Jonathan, and the entire family.
Questions orales, oral questions. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, during question period, after question period, rather, we'll be debating the motion on Canada's fight against the Islamic State. Our allies will have to fight without us, without our fighter planes. They will no longer be bombing the Islamic State. How can the Prime Minister withdraw these planes and leave that mission to the others? The Right Honourable Prime Minister Thank you, Mr. Speaker. What we are seeing today is what we saw yesterday. We have one party in this House that wants us to do much more militarily in the fight against the so-called Islamic State, and the other party that wants us to do much less against the Islamic State. And we have committed during the elections to offer a responsible plan that will ensure that Canada will do what it can to help. And we are going to implement that plan and bring it to fruition. This is what we'll be discussing today, and I look forward to the informed debate that we will have on this issue. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Always stood up for the most vulnerable, for innocent people that are under attack for nothing more than their beliefs. In the past, we've joined those fights with every tool at our disposal. By pulling out our CF-18s out of the fight against ISIS, we signal to our allies and to the world that we will only do so much to fight terror. Why is the Prime Minister stepping back when he should be stepping up the fight on terror?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
As we've highlighted many times, as we will continue to highlight, our allies are pleased with Canada's increased commitment to the coalition against ISIL. But what we have right here, Mr. Speaker, is one party that always wants to do more militarily in the fight, another party that doesn't want to do anything militarily in the fight, and quite frankly, what we ran on to Canadians and what they voted for was a plan that did what Canada does best, helping out in meaningful ways and making sure that we are contributing in a strong, robust, comprehensive way to the fight against the Islamic State.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister is wrong when he says his plan to deal with ISIS reflects Canadian values, because it only reflects the values that he picks and chooses. Right. Canadians value standing with our traditional allies. Canadians value helping the vulnerable and the threatened. And Canadians value showing true resolve against a brutal enemy. Fighting for these values has always been proudly Canadian. So why is the Prime Minister choosing to cast these Canadian values aside?
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We are standing resolved with our allies in a comprehensive whole-of-government approach. We are helping in meaningful ways. We are standing in favour of helping the most vulnerable, indeed increasing our humanitarian aid and our support for refugees. We are doing what Canadians have asked their governments to do, and that's exactly what we're delivering, and we're very pleased to be having this discussion openly in the House of Commons today. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you very much.
Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Speaker, let me turn to another flawed Liberal plan. In just 100 days, this Prime Minister has burned through the Conservative surplus that he inherited.
Order. That's enough. I'm a member for Ottawa South, and others all want to hear this. So let's let everybody hear this. Please, members, let's listen to the Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, a surplus confirmed by the Finance Minister's own department in his own report. While Canadians are tightening their belts across this country, the Prime Minister clearly has a spending problem. Can the Prime Minister tell us just how much more debt is he going to pile on to Canadians?
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
The previous government left us with a deficit this year, as the numbers highlight very clearly. And what we have engaged with Canadians to do is to actually create the kind of growth that has been lacking for 10 years of mismanagement of the economy by the previous government. Canadians need investments in their communities, which we are putting forward. They need money in the pockets of the middle class and help for those working hard to join the middle class. That is what Canadians elected this government to do, and that is exactly what we're delivering right now and with our budget. Merci.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, today Bombardier announced that they were going to do away with more than 2,000 jobs for families in Quebec. These families will have problems paying their bills and will have to make difficult decisions. Does the Prime Minister understand that people Canadians are losing confidence in his capacity, his ability to manage our economy. The Honourable Prime Minister. Obviously, even though there have been job losses and will be, we have a lot of sympathy for the families that have to experience difficult times. And that is why we are committed to investing in economic growth that we haven't had in 10 years. In high-quality manufacturing and other sectors, we are looking to how we will be able to help Bombardier within the Canadian economy, and we're working very hard to create this economic growth, which we simply didn't have under their governments. The Honourable Member for Outremont. Mr. Speaker, faced with the loss of 7,000 jobs, including 2,400 families losing their way of living, their means to live in Quebec, all that the Prime Minister has to offer is his condolences. Bombardier and those families need action, not empty rhetoric. What does the Prime Minister intend to do to help Bombardier and those families? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, we were elected on a platform to invest and make improvements to the Canadian economy and its growth rate. And indeed, when we see job losses such as these, it is devastating. And of course, we have to do a lot of work to support these families, and that is why our reforms and investments will help. At the same time, we must be responsible in our investment of public monies, and that is why we are studying how to best help, in the interest of the Canadian economy, this flagship of the Canadian industry, which is Bombardier, not so only for Quebec, but for all of this country. The Honourable Member for Outremont. 4 months later, 7,000 job losses, and all that he's telling us is all he can tell us is that he's studying the problem. It's shameful, Mr. Speaker.
At Bombardier, adding to the 400,000 manufacturing jobs lost under the Conservatives. Now, I know that the Prime Minister has already said that he thinks manufacturing is a thing of the past, but these people's livelihoods, we're talking about good jobs, their children's future. How many jobs have to be lost before the Prime Minister will finally act?
Hear, hear.
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, Canadians expect us to be growing the economy in responsible ways and taking responsibility into the kind of investments that are needed to be made. Unfortunately, inflamed rhetoric and shouting isn't going to solve the problem. What is going to solve the problem is working hard in a meaningful way to bring the kinds of growth, the kinds of effect on the Canadian economy that we got elected to deliver, and that's exactly what we're going to do.
The Honourable Member for Outremont.
They had no plan for aeronautic industry in the election campaign, and people now understand why. They plan to do nothing in the face of thousands of job losses here in Canada, Mr. Speaker. Yesterday, when we asked the Prime Minister whether or not our mission in Iraq was a combat mission, he couldn't answer. But a couple of months ago, in his election platform, he had this to say: "We will end Canada's combat mission in Iraq. We know our troops are going to be on the front line. We know they'll be spotting for airstrikes. We know they'll be fighting." Yesterday, the Prime Minister even compared our mission to what happened with Canada's troops in the Second and First World War. So this is a simple question. Is this a combat mission, yes or no?
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
We have been consistent, Mr. Speaker, from the very beginning in that we feel that the combat role that the Conservative government engaged us in dropping bombs on ISIL was not the best way for Canada to help. Therefore, we have ended that combat mission, and we are engaged in training and support on an intelligence side, because we know that this is something that Canada can do that will meaningfully help our allies, help the coalition, and bring the fight directly to ISIL with the people on the ground who are going to be able to be most effective. This is what we're going to be debating and discussing today, and I'm pleased to see such a wide range of perspectives in the House of Commons.
The Honourable Member for Outremont. Mr. Speaker, as usual, the Prime Minister is going in the opposite direction of what our role is in Iraq. He refuses to use the word combat role and says that Canada will not participate in the bombing. We'll have 3 times more people in the theatre of operations and on the front lines. The Prime Minister himself refers to two different world wars. Why does he refuse to tell Canadians that he is sending our soldiers into a high-risk combat situation? Why does he refuse to admit that? The Right Honourable Prime Minister, Mr. Speaker, what I just said is that we know that we are engaging in a risky mission, but it is something that we are focusing on in terms of training and frontline assistance, and to help the local people fight more effectively against the Islamic State. So that's what we want to do. The third opposition party has always opposed any commitment whatsoever in this regard, and the reality is that we must be present against the so-called Islamic State, and that's what we're going to do.
For Selkirk, Interlake, Eastman.
Mr. Speaker, for more than a year, our CF-18s have been eliminating ISIS fighting positions and taking out their critical supply lines. Every successful bombing has limited their ability to threaten civilians and has weakened ISIS's capacity. ISIS is now fleeing to countries like Libya because airstrikes have decimated their funding and weapons. ISIS is on the run. Why is the Prime Minister abandoning the fight when our contribution to the airstrikes is so invaluable?
The Honourable Minister of National Defence.
Mr. Speaker, the current situation in Iraq, ISIS is not completely on the run. There are pockets of enemy in Mosul and other places, and this war against ISIS cannot be won from the air. It has to be won on the ground, and that's the exact reason why we're tripling the training mission and doubling our intelligence capacity as well. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Selkirk, Interlake, Eastman.
The airstrikes are working, Mr. Speaker. The global terrorist threat is real. It has taken the lives of Canadians both here at home and abroad. This government's priority should be to ensuring the safety of Canadians. Our CF-18s are important in the fight to destroy ISIS, so they can't threaten Canadians. Does the Prime Minister actually believe reasoning with genocidal terrorists will be more effective than missile strikes by our CF-18s?
The Honourable Minister of National Defence.
Mr. Speaker, with all due respect to the Honourable Member, the fight against atrocity like ISIL cannot be won strictly with one capability. You need to look at the wider picture. We need to look at not just the current fight, and hence the reason this can only be won and the stability of the region by the local security forces. And this is what the coalition needs, and this is why we, as a nation, has stepped up shoulder to shoulder with our coalition partners. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Parry Sound, Muskoka.
Mr. Speaker, the Liberals broke several campaign promises, including to limit the deficit to $10 billion, and yet they mention a campaign promise to pull out the CF-18s. A majority of Canadians disagree with this decision. Why? Because the Liberals are going against Canadians' wishes and leave our allies to do the bulk of the work in the Islamic State. Why? The Honourable Minister of Foreign Affairs. Mr. Speaker, I think that my colleague will admit that the great majority of experts agree that the coalition is not lacking anything in terms of its strike capacity. And yet, what our allies have all said is that what is needed is the training of local forces, and so we are concentrating on that. Is the opposition against that? We're doubling our ability, our capacity to have information on the terrorists. Are they against that? I could give them a long list of things that we're doing to help the coalition, and that makes Canada a better partner to fight in the fight against the terrorist groups.
Honourable Member for Parry Sound, Muskoka.
Speaker, on another subject, there are more than 300 supporters of Canadian Reverend Hyun Soo Lim on Parliament Hill today, praying and advocating for his release from a North Korean prison camp. We stand with his congregation and supporters in the hope that Reverend Lim will soon be free. Can the Honourable Minister of Foreign Affairs please update this House as to the measures being taken to secure the release of this beloved pastor and human rights advocate?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary for Foreign Affairs, Consular Affairs.
Mr. Speaker, I want to thank the Honourable Member for his question. We, like his friends and family, the families and friends of Pastor Lim, are very concerned about his well-being and his rights. We continue to be engaged in this case. in providing consular service to him and his family. I have met with advocates from Pastor Lim and members of the Korean community, including today. I'll be meeting with them after question period. I can assure you and assure the rest of the House that we will continue to be engaged in this file until we resolve his case.
The honourable member for Thornhill.
Mr. Speaker, Canada has contributed billions of dollars to the Palestinian Authority over the years: humanitarian aid, justice building, policing, and education. This week, the Palestinian Education Ministry held a memorial ceremony for an 18-year-old terrorist killed after an attack on an Israeli border guard. Palestinian official media gave the event wide coverage. Will the minister publicly condemn the Palestinian Authority for its continuing incitement of deadly attacks on Israelis?
The Honourable Minister of Foreign Affairs. Mr. Speaker, the government has very strict criteria to determine who we offer humanitarian assistance to, what groups we work with, and we control from A to Z every aspect of that. We ensure that that assistance is clearly provided. We do it in every case, and we did it in the case that my colleague just mentioned. Never will the government provide assistance without the assurance that it will be properly spent.
On another topic, Mr. Speaker, as the government rushes to normalize relations with Iran and the Iranian regime, the government should consider the forthright declaration of the German Chancellor. Angela Merkel says normal relations with Iran will not be restored as long as Iran refuses to recognize Israel's right to exist. Chancellor Merkel says she and all of her ministers make that point directly in every contact with Iranian counterparts. Can the minister assure all Canadians that all government ministers will do the same?
The Minister of Foreign Affairs.
Mr. Speaker, we ask the whole world to recognize Israel, first. Second, there is no way that we'll have normal relations with Iran. What we are saying, though, is that we will have relations with Iran, and especially when it's time to speak for Israel.
Honourable member for Essex.
Mr. Speaker, I've had lots of Canadians telling me that they're worried about the TPP, worried about their jobs, about impacts on environmental regulations and rising drug costs. The CEO of Ford of Canada said, quote, "There will be no positive outcome for Canadian manufacturing." But the Liberals don't seem to be listening to these serious concerns. They signed the deal without studying it and still haven't told Canadians what the impacts will be. How can the minister keep pushing such a dangerous deal with no study to back it up?
The Honourable Minister of International Trade.
Thank you for the question. On the TPP, we are doing exactly what we promised we would do during the election campaign. We told Canadians that we would take the time to listen to Canadians and to consult widely on this deal. I myself have been part of more than 50 consultations, and our whole-of-government approach has included more than 200. This is an important deal for Canadians to talk about. I hear perspectives both pro and con, and we will have a full parliamentary debate before any issue of ratification.
The Honourable Member for Berthier-Masquinongé. Mr. Speaker, the TPP does not bode well for our economy. 60,000 jobs at risk, losses for our dairy producers and for the auto sector, and there are many obstacles to innovation. The economy has slowed down, and this is not the time to put new jobs at risk in Canada. The Liberals spoke of change, real change, but they're moving forward with the Conservatives' agreement without any impact study. Mr. Speaker, how can the government justify moving forward with such an agreement? The Honourable Minister of International Trade.
Le Président.
Mr. Speaker, the NDP is opposed to the TPP without even having consulted Canadians. We are doing exactly what we promised we would do. The NDP knows that the signing of the agreement is not the same thing as ratification. They know that, and they must speak the truth to Canadians.
Honourable Member for Milton.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Tax changes that don't cost the taxpayer a dime. $10 billion deficit caps. and a balanced budget at the end of the mandate. What are these three things? Broken Liberal promises straight into the platform. It's actually breathtaking, Mr. Speaker, to see how quickly these platform promises have actually been broken in the last 100 days. But you know what? Canadians care about balanced budgets and they care about deficits because they pay for it at the end of the day through loss of jobs and higher taxes. So let's ask the Finance Minister again today. Can you please level with Canadians because they do care? How much is the deficit going to be? Is it going to be $30 billion as we're reading in the reports?
Honourable Minister of Finance.
Mr. Speaker, we will be making smart, necessary, and long overdue investments to grow our economy to make a real difference for the Canadian middle class and those most vulnerable. That's our plan. It's the plan that Canadians elected us on. It's the right plan for Canada, and we look forward to the Budget 2006 to give more details.
The member for Milton.
Mr. Speaker, we look forward to the budget of 2016 as well because we'll actually get a sense as to what they're going to be doing to the country to not put it on the right track. We began pre-budget consultations yesterday, Mr. Speaker, in committee, and you know why that's important? Because the first time ever the Canadian public are hearing the cost associated with Liberal platform promises for spending. Spoiler alert, it's in the billions, and it's a big-ticket item. So, Mr. Speaker, again for the Minister of Finance, how much of his $30 billion deficit is actually going to be in these spending promises made in their Liberal platform?
Honourable Minister of Finance.
Mr. Speaker, we have the right plan to grow the economy, and we've already started. We've started by reducing taxes on 9 million Canadians, and we will have measures in Budget 2016 that will make a real difference for the most vulnerable and help us to grow the economy. And I will take no advice from the members across the way who left us with an additional $150 billion worth of debt. And what do we have to show for it? The lowest growth since the Great Depression, a couple of gazebos, and a fake lake.
The honourable member for Louis Saint Laurent. Mr. Speaker, the least we could say is that the government has completely lost control of public finances. We could remember during the campaign, the Prime Minister talked about a maximum of $10 billion as a deficit, and now that's a minimum. And the tax changes were supposed to be revenue neutral. Now we're up to $1.7 billion for that. And at the same time, the Prime Minister is not even able to talk about a balanced budget in a few years. The question is easy. When will the government finally get control of public finances? The Honourable Minister of Finance.
Monsieur le Président.
Mr. Speaker, we were elected on a platform to grow the economy, and we've already begun that work. We started with tax reductions for the middle class, with 9 million Canadians who have more money in their pockets than before. In the 2016 budget, there will be other measures to improve our growth. We will also add to the child benefits, and we will grow this economy. The Honourable Member for Louis Saint Laurent. My question is for the Minister of Finance. His own department said that from April to November, there was a $1 billion surplus. You talk about deficits. That was our surplus. Yesterday, we tabled a motion talking about the confidence in the Deputy Minister of Finance and his team, and the Liberals voted against it. So the question is simple. If the Minister of Finance does not even have confidence in his Deputy Minister, who does he have confidence in terms of public finances? The Honourable Minister of Finance.
Monsieur le Président.
Mr. Speaker, the only people who believe that the Conservative government, the previous government, left a surplus are the Conservatives themselves. Canadians are not fooled. Don't misunderstand me. The Government of Canada will have a deficit for the 2015-16 year, and this is based on actions and a lack of action by the Conservative government. And the numbers are a snapshot of a moment in time, and don't tell the entire story.
Now, member for Edmonton Strathcona.
Mr. Speaker, 2016 marks the 30th anniversary of the Hinton, Alberta rail disaster. 26 people died, another 95 injured. Engineers' fatigue was identified as one cause of that tragedy. 30 years later, worker fatigue is still a major factor in derailments, including at Lac-Mégantic. The Minister of Transport is mandated to improve rail safety, yet communities along rail lines are left waiting for government action. How many more disasters before the Minister finally takes action on engineer fatigue?
Hear, hear. Now the Minister of Transport.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I welcome this question because I've been speaking extensively about rail safety since I received my mandate to do so. And on the question of fatigue, the member will be glad to know that I have actually taken action with respect to a complaint that was lodged with CP concerning fatigue of those who are responsible for driving CP trains. We are actively looking into that at the moment. Rail safety is my #1 priority. It is that of this government, and we will be vigilant with respect to that because so many Canadians are concerned about it. Thank you.
And I have to take the Beloit-Chambly.
Honourable member for Beloit-Chambly. Mr. Speaker, more and more oil is being transported by rail through our communities without the government ensuring adequate and safe oversight. And there are new projects upcoming, so we cannot be content with the status quo and the conditions left behind by the Conservatives. Municipalities and citizens are worried. Close to 3 years after the Lac-Mégantic tragedy, we're still waiting for better safety rules such as improved inspections, the withdrawal of dangerous rail cars, and enhanced oversight. When will the government show that this is a priority and present a real rail safety plan?
Ministre des Transports.
Honourable Minister of Transport. Once again, Mr. Speaker, thank you very much for the question. And I will be pleased to go into detail with my colleague to show him the initiatives that have been taken since July 2013, since the tragedy of Lac-Mégantic. These initiatives were taken by the former government, the preceding government. I examined them. There is still more work to be done. We're going to get that work done to ensure Canadians, to assure them that their railway system is safe. Thank you. The Honourable Member for Châteauguay, Lacolle. Mr. Speaker, last week, the Minister of Natural Resources met with his counterparts of the United States and Mexico in Winnipeg. During this meeting, they signed a memorandum of understanding with regard to green energy. Can the Minister describe this a model of cooperation and explain the benefits with regard to Canadian investments in clean technologies, energy efficiency, and industries in the green energy sector? Honourable Minister of Natural Resources.
I hosted our United States and Mexican energy counterparts in Winnipeg, where we signed a trilateral memorandum of understanding on climate change and energy collaboration. And I want to say, Mr. Speaker, that this MOU builds on the good work done by the previous government. It delivers our government's promise to ensure the energy sector remains a source of jobs, prosperity, and opportunity in a world that values sustainable development.
The Honourable Member for Portage-Lisgar.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, yesterday I asked the Minister of Natural Resources if there was a double standard when it came to greenhouse gas emissions, one for Canadian oil and jobs and one for Saudi Arabian oil coming into Canada. The Minister completely ignored the question, so I'm going to give him a chance to answer it today. The Liberals, unfortunately, are saying no to only Canadian oil and pipelines. I'm wondering if the Minister thinks that foreign oil extracted from the ground and shipped to Canada is done so using solar power and hemp-woven ships.
The Honourable Minister of Natural Resources.
No, Mr. Speaker, but I need more. Had the previous government not spent so much time prejudging the National Energy Board, muzzling climate scientists, ignoring traditional knowledge and finding ways to short-circuit the process, perhaps major resource projects would carry the confidence of Canadians. Our government will not follow the lead of the previous administration on its path of failure.
The honourable member for Portage Lisgar.
Mr. Speaker, no answer, and the Liberal government continues to put roadblocks in the way of Canadian oil and the kinds of jobs that pay the mortgage for Canadians. Canadian oil is extracted responsibly, and environmental protection is at the forefront of the Canadian energy industry. Meanwhile, the Liberals welcome greenhouse gas-intensive oil from countries like Saudi Arabia, where women have virtually no rights and dissidents are executed. When will this government be a champion for responsibly extracted and transported Canadian oil?
The Honourable Minister of Transport.
Speaker, that's exactly what we're in the process of doing. What we are doing is ensuring that all projects that are currently under review will be put through a number of different lenses. And we know on this side of the House, Mr. Speaker, that you cannot have economic growth without environmental sustainability. You cannot have a regular process that does not carry the confidence of Canadians. We intend to do all of those things. And as the Prime Minister has said, it's a major obligation to get our natural resources to market sustainably.
Honourable member for Beauce. Mr. Speaker, a new poll revealed yesterday to Canadians that a large majority of Quebecers support the transport via pipeline of oil products. In fact, more than 59% of Quebecers would prefer to purchase their oil products from here, from Canada, from Western Canada, in fact. So, Mr. Speaker, the question is simple. We have Ontario, the Atlantic, the provinces of the West. We also have Quebec, all in favor of the Energy East pipeline. So will
the Minister of Natural Resources.
Mr. Speaker, we have had many opinions expressed in this House about pipelines. We have one over here, we have a second one there, and a third one over there. We have mayors who are weighing in, we have premiers who are weighing in. The only way that we are going to get a process that carries credibility with Canadians is to ensure that they all have an opportunity to give their view, and ultimately, looking at science-based evidence, Indigenous knowledge, and a good process, the government will decide.
The honourable member for Beauce.
Mr. Speaker, 2 weeks ago, Denis Coderre was not speaking for Quebecers when he opposed Energy East. According to a new poll, Quebecers consider pipelines to be the safest means to transport oil. 59% will prefer to buy their oil from Western Canada. Mr. Speaker, the Atlantic, the West, Ontario, and now Quebec support Energy East. Will the Prime Minister understand that and support that project for Canadians?
Honourable Minister of Natural Resources.
I'm very happy to learn that members opposite see major resource projects as nation-building as they should be. But the only way they're going to happen is if they carry confidence of Canadians, not the failed process of the previous government that didn't get one major pipeline built to Tidewater while it had a majority government. Why would we want to follow a failed practice? We're going to follow a new one that has faith in the credibility of the judgment of Canadians.
The honourable member for Jonquière. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Trafficking and sexual exploitation of our young women continue to appall Quebecers. On Monday, the mother of a runaway personally handed in a letter to the Prime Minister asking him to enact the bill to fight exploiters, a bill that was adopted here by all parties. And yet yesterday there was a cabinet meeting, but there is still no order in council. Talk is all very well, but what we need here is action. What is the minister waiting for to make life tougher for exploiters and finally protect our girls? When will this order in council be signed? Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Justice. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. These young women and their families are in our thoughts and prayers. The disappearance of a child is a particular tragedy in these circumstances. We are determined to achieve the significant objectives of Bill C-452, and I can guarantee that we will act swiftly in a way that reflects our values and the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. Thank you very much.
The honourable member for Esquimalt-Saanich-Sooke.
Communities across the country are working hard to tackle this problem and so many other public safety challenges. But despite all the talk from the previous government, police forces across the country still don't have the resources they need. To make matters worse, in 2013, the Conservatives cancelled the Police Officers Recruitment Fund. The NDP has consistently called for restoration of this fund so that communities like Halifax, Montreal, Winnipeg, and Surrey have the police officers and the resources they need to keep their communities safe. Will the Liberal government now restore the Police Officers Recruitment Fund?
The Honourable Minister of Public Safety.
Mr. Speaker, the honourable gentleman makes a specific reference to Surrey, and I can assure him that the commitment made of the number of officers to be added to that detachment will be honoured by this spring, on target, as planned originally. I will also tell him that our platform included a very useful suggestion for a new fund to work through the provinces and with local police forces across the country to combat the awful scourge of guns and gangs and drugs. And we are being very proactive on this file.
The honourable member for Battle River Crowfoot.
Mr. Speaker, this Prime Minister does not understand that Canada is an energy-rich country. He doesn't understand that Canada is an exporting country. He doesn't understand that oil is one of our biggest exports, and he doesn't understand that those exports create jobs all across Canada. Mr. Speaker, Canada's international customers are waiting with open wallets to buy Canada's energy. They will buy as much as we can provide. When will this Prime Minister get out of the way so that we can export more of our oil around the world and create jobs here at home?
Honourable Minister of Natural Resources.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister has said many times that one of the major responsibilities of the Government of Canada is to get our natural resources to market sustainably. If we want to access these foreign markets, if we want to create more jobs in Alberta and Saskatchewan and Newfoundland and Labrador, the only way that will be done is if the Canadian people see that the process that takes us to a decision is a credible one, not like the failed process of the previous government.
Now remember for Carleton Trail, Eagle Creek.
Mr. Speaker, Bombardier is a huge employer in Canada, particularly in Quebec and the Minister's home city of Montreal. Yet the Minister of Transport has killed a major business opportunity for Bombardier. He overruled Toronto City Council and the Toronto Port Authority and blocked expansion of the Toronto Island Airport. Shame. Why won't the Minister of Transport let Bombardier create Canadian jobs by allowing the Toronto Island Airport to expand?
Honourable Minister of Transport.
Mr. Speaker, I'm sure that everyone in this chamber on both sides of the House is delighted with the news today that Air Canada has decided to purchase 45 airplanes from the C-Series 300 and has options for 30 more. We care deeply about the Bombardier aircraft. I myself have had the pleasure of sitting in the cockpit. This is the best airplane in the world in its class, and all of us should be hoping that Bombardier is going to be selling hundreds of these aircraft in the months and years to come. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Foothills.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Provinces like Alberta have been hit hard by job losses, and as we heard today, they're not going to get much help from this Liberal government. There's absolutely no plan to get Canadians back to work. There's absolutely no support for Energy East. What Albertans are asking this Liberal government for is a commitment to Energy East, a commitment to improve employment insurance to ensure that Albertans who have lost their jobs can take care of their family and keep their homes. In our biggest time of need, Will this government stand up, support Albertans, help them get back to work, instead of just saying, hey, hang in there?
The Minister of Natural Resources.
Mr. Speaker, this government, as a priority, wants to move our natural resources to market. The previous government was unable to move natural resources to Tidewater because they continue to follow a process that failed, that didn't have the confidence of the Canadian people. Why would we want to repeat those mistakes? Rather, we are embracing a process that reaches out to Canadians, that reaches out to Indigenous communities, to build confidence in the regulatory process, to meet our combined objective, which is...
Honourable Member for Laurentides-Labelle. Mr. Speaker, in his mandate letter, the Prime Minister asked the Minister of National Revenue to ensure that the Canada Revenue Agency is a client-focused agency. The government must ensure that Canadian taxpayers are always treated with respect. This respect must be reflected in the relations that it maintains with its citizens. Can the Minister tell us what work has been done in this regard? The Honourable Minister of National Revenue. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On last Thursday, I had the pleasure of announcing that the Canada Revenue Agency will be publishing a document that makes it easier to file returns. It includes solely the information that is the most important for taxpayers. Mr. Speaker, we will continue to consult Canadians and to use best practices to ensure that our services meet the needs of citizens.
Honourable Member for Regina Capel.
Mr. Speaker, yesterday the Finance Minister indicated that he would amend the territorial funding formula to take into account recent changes in the Northwest Territories, Yukon and Nunavut. Now, as the Minister well knows, Western provinces have seen a sudden and dramatic drop in the price of oil and gas. However, the equalization formula does not allow these unexpected changes to be taken into account. This means that Saskatchewan is sending money to other provinces while its own resource economy is struggling. Will the minister commit to treating Saskatchewan and Alberta fairly and address the problems in the equalization formula?
The Honourable Minister of Finance.
Mr. Speaker, I'm pleased to answer this question. We were very pleased to deal with the situation in the Northern Territories over a couple of months of discussion. Statistics Canada changed their calculation method, which left them in a difficult situation. We found a way to improve that situation for them. Happily, what we've also done is found ways that we can help people in other provinces through the plan we've put forward. We are going to be making real investments in the Canadian economy, through investments in infrastructure, investments that will help people in the middle class and those most vulnerable. We believe that our plan has the best shot at improving our economy for all Canadians.
Honourable Member for Rimouski-Neigette-Témiscouata-Libas. Mr. Speaker, a study by the Broadband Institute that was made public yesterday confirms that seniors' poverty is on the rise. In the space of 12 years, the percentage of seniors living below the poverty line rose from 4 to 11%. And for single women, we're talking about a rate of 30%. The Liberals promised during the election campaign to immediately boost the guaranteed income supplement by 10%. But yesterday, the Minister of Finance was vague. However, the question is clear. Will the government boost the GIS in the budget as it promised during the election campaign? Honourable Minister of Finance.
I'm pleased to address this question. During the course of our campaign, we talked about the importance of helping people to retire in dignity. We talked about the importance of helping those people that have already retired. We are looking towards making significant progress on helping Canadians to retire in dignity over the course of this year through a CPP enhancement. We are also looking towards measures in Budget 2016 that will help those Canadians who are currently retired and facing a difficult situation.
The Honourable Member for London North Centre.
Mr. Speaker, in my riding of London North Centre, small businesses are central to the economy. Many small business owners tell me it is very difficult to be competitive, as unlocking new markets to move their goods and services is not an easy task. Would the Minister of International Trade be able to update this House on what is being done to ensure Canadian small businesses are given the necessary support required to take advantage of global export opportunities and create more quality jobs at home?
Great question. The Honourable Minister of International Trade.
I'd like to thank the member for London North Centre for his question and for his hard work on this file. Can Export is a $50 million 5-year program that gives small and medium-sized companies the support they need to explore new export opportunities. We unveiled Can Export last month, and it was with great pleasure that the Honourable Minister for Small Business and I announced just last week that 29 companies have already been approved for funding. This is a great program. I encourage all of us to get the small and medium-sized companies in our ridings from coast to coast to coast to apply. Let's...
Honourable Member for Richmond Arthabaska. Mr. Speaker, in the throne speech, the Prime Minister stated that he would legalize and decriminalize marijuana. Since that announcement, law enforcement authorities have said that they don't have the tools they need to effectively fight against drugged driving. Unlike alcohol, there is no tool that has been approved in Canada to swiftly detect the presence of drugs with drivers. Can the Minister of Public Safety explain what he intends to do to reassure police forces, but also Canadian families who fear a greater number of intoxicated drivers on our roads? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Justice.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm very pleased to respond to the question. This government recognizes the importance of keeping our communities safe and is absolutely committed to working with this House to ensure that law enforcement agencies across this country have the tools necessary to keep our communities safe. It's an important part of the work that we will be doing in the future as we go forward to make our communities safe, to protect our kids through the legalization and regulation of marijuana.
The Honourable Member for Saanich Gulf Islands.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My question is to the Prime Minister. I know that all of us in this House are very proud of the progressive role Canada played in concluding the agreements in Paris last year. The Paris Agreement will be open for signing at the United Nations headquarters this spring on Earth Day. My question to the Prime Minister is twofold. Will he personally accept the invitation of the Secretary-General to be there to sign the agreement? And more importantly, will he bring with him Canada's new, more robust target to meet the objectives of the agreement?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
I thank the honourable member for her question, and I'm happy to say that I was pleased to be in Paris with premiers and so many Canadians to sign that, to reach that extraordinary agreement. And I'm looking forward to meeting with the premiers in a few weeks on March 3rd to further build on this framework. In direct answer to her question, Canada will be attending the signing ceremony in April in New York to move forward on this important landmark historic agreement out of Paris. Thank you.
I would like to draw to the attention of honourable members the presence in the gallery of the Honourable Tom Osborne, Speaker of Newfoundland and Labrador.
I would also like to draw the attention of members to the presence in the gallery of Mr. George Elliott Clark, 7th Parliamentary Poet Laureate.
Finally, I would like to draw the attention of honourable members to the presence in the gallery of the Right Honourable P.J. Lacan-Powell, who, through the Make-A-Wish Foundation, has been Prime Minister of Canada for a week.
Order.
J'ai un point d'ordre.
A point of order. Notice of point for a point of order. The honourable member for Louis Saint Laurent. Yes, thank you, Mr. Speaker. A point of order. I would ask the consent of this House to table the following document: the financial review as published by the Department of Finance, November 2015. Is there unanimous consent to table this document? No, there's not unanimous consent.
Tabling of documents. Introduction of government bills. Statements by ministers. Reports from interparliamentary delegations. Honourable Member for Prince Albert.
Speaker, I'd like to table a report on the Canadian Parliamentary Delegation respecting its participation at the 12th Plenary Assembly of the Canadian Section of Parlamericus in Panama City, Panama, September 4th and 5th, 2015.
Présentation du rapport du comité.
Presentation of committee reports. Introduction of private members' bills.
Mr. Massey, seconded by Mr. Cullen, moves for leave to introduce a bill entitled An Act to Amend the Criminal Code, Sports Betting. This motion is deemed adopted. The honourable member for Windsor West.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I thank the member of Skeena-Buckley Valley for seconding this motion because it is a Canadian province by province issue that's very important. I'm introducing this bill, which many members of this House will know passed through the Chamber in the last session of Parliament and should be law today, but was stalled in the Senate despite support by this very House. The bill quotes the